about? And here's the answer. Because you have little faith, he said. I assure you that if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, go from here to there, and it will go. There will be nothing that you can't do.
I had forgotten to do it earlier, so I'll just do a brief introduction and welcome to our guest, Abraham Diaz Alonso, coming here to us from South Texas, from Mennonite Central Committee. Abraham is the program coordinator with MCC Central States, and he works with supporting Anabaptist churches who want to serve and learn about migrating and displaced persons. So Abraham will share a message with us this morning now, and also will be here during the Sunday School Hour to share more about how we can learn and serve migrating and displaced persons.
Testing. I brought a peace lamp, but for some reason they don't let oil or gasoline inside the plane, so we can't light it tonight or today, right? So pretend it's lit up, okay? For TSA reasons, we'll leave it like that. But good morning, everyone. Thank you for hosting me today. My name's Abraham Diaz Alonso. I'm the Immigration Program Coordinator with the Mennonite Central Committee, and I have my notes here, so just in case you see me looking down a little. I'm based near McAllen, Texas, which is at the southmost part of Texas, where the U.S.-Mexico border meets the Gulf. That's where I'm located. And my house is about 15 minutes from the physical U.S.-Mexico border. Now, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share today in this Peace Sunday. Let me grab the clicker. I left it here. There it is. All right. Today, my sermon will be about planting peace and the power of a mustard seed. And we saw with the children's story that they got a mustard seed. And we just read also Matthew 17:20. And I think I put like 100 mustard seeds in my pocket. Just in case I lost one, I'd have 300 more left. But before I begin this morning, did everybody get a mustard seed? Anybody not get a mustard seed? All right. Looks like everybody got one. Go. If you got one already, you could pinch it like this so you won't lose it. You could place it in the middle of your palm. If you're afraid of dropping it, don't worry. I have about 3,000 more mustard seeds for sale at $7.99 each. So feel free to purchase one at the end of the sermon. But today, I want you to look at it. If you can pinch it between your hands or put it in your palm and look at it, it's just so small. It's so tiny. We probably heard about, the songs or the scripture where it says the size of a mustard seed. And many of us haven't seen one in person or know what they look like. It's probably even smaller than we imagined. If I accidentally drop mine right now, I'd probably never find it. So if I toss it out, we wouldn't be able to see it where it lands. We probably never find it again. But I have 300 more in my pocket, so I could always pull up another one. See, I have now I have 299 more. Unless my pocket. Oh yeah, it's here. Now I want you to ask yourself this question: do you really believe something this small? Well, you can't see it. Something this small could change the world. Look at it, just tiny, smaller than an ant. Do you really believe something this small could change the world? Jesus did. Now, in fact, Jesus used this tiny little seed, this mustard seed, the one we have right now as a reference, to teach us two incredible lessons. One lesson was about faith, and the other lesson was about the kingdom of God. Now, today on Peace Sunday, I believe those two lessons come together. Because the message that Jesus gives us is this: Jesus doesn't say or doesn't ask us to produce great peace. He just asks us to plant faithful seeds of peace. He doesn't say the Grand Canyon size of faith. He just says this small. Now, what is faith? The Bible gives us the exact definition in one of the verses. In Hebrews 11:1. Let's see. Oh, you can see it. So that's me. That's my nice photo from MCC. The one they took of me in, I think, orientation. But that's the mustard seed that we have in our hand right now. In Hebrews 11, it tells us faith is the reality of what we hope for, the proof of what we don't see. The reality of what we hope for, the proof of what we don't see. And I really love that definition because here it tells me faith is not about pretending. I'm pretending that I'm going to get there. It's not wishful thinking. It doesn't say, I wish I get to what I'm hoping for. It's not simply saying, it's going to work out. It'll be all right. It's not that. Faith is trusting God before we can even see the results. It means believing that God is already working before we even see any of the results. Even before our eyes can see anything, God is already doing something. Now, if faith means trusting in God, then what is hope? Where I live in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas, there's this radio station called 96.9. And they have this slogan that says, faith, hope, and love. Kind of like in Corinthians when they say faith, hope, and love, and the greatest one of these is love. But I've always liked that name. Whenever they say, faith, hope, and love, la, 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 and then they put some nice song. But it's hard understanding that they're not the same. That faith is not the same as hope. That love is not the same as faith or as hope. To me personally, hope looks towards tomorrow. I hope I have a good day today. I hope I have a good day tomorrow. Faith walks today and says, because of God, I will have a good day today. Or because of God, I will have a good day tomorrow. Hope says, God can give me another day tomorrow. But faith says, because God can give me another day tomorrow, I will make it a great day. Hope just expects, faith obeys. Hope waits for God to act, says, I'm just going to wait for God. While faith says, I trust God enough to take the next step, to make a plan for tomorrow before I even see the outcome, because I trust in God. Now, I see these two as gifts of God. But today, Jesus invites us to talk about faith, because peace and peace building, they both require faith. In Matthew 17:20, Jesus says something remarkable that I still hold very dear. He tells his disciples, I assure you that if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, if you have faith this small, what's in your finger, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, go from here to there, and it will go. There is nothing that you can't do. It tells him, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, that's all the faith he's asking from us. Faith the size of a mustard seed, not the size of a peace lamp, not the size of the podium, not the size of our church. It says the size of this mustard seed. If you have faith like this, you could tell this mountain, go from here to here, and it will move. And there will be nothing that you can't do. Now, when I hear Jesus talk about mountains, I think of all the Kansas mountains. There's none. No, I really immediately think about home. And home is a little complicated for me. I grew up in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, which is a northeastern Mexican city. And my family immigrated to the U.S. when I was 8 years young. We immigrated because we were living in poverty. And my parents had to make the difficult decision to stay and continue the same, or try giving my siblings and I an opportunity at life. Now, if anybody's ever visited Monterrey, and in case you haven't, it's surrounded by mountains everywhere. The city's in the middle, and mountains are all around. Something similar to the Colorado mountains. When you're in Denver, when you're in Colorado Springs, they're just different mountain ranges. But in Monterrey, one mountain stands above all others. It's called El Cerro de la Silla, the Horse Saddle Mountain, and it's the symbol of our city. And this is my family. This was approximately in about 2014, so 12 years ago. That's me, 12 years younger. That's my dad in his tuxedo shirt. I think it was either his birthday, because he's wearing a tuxedo shirt. My sister, my mother, and my brother. And at the bottom is my nephew, the son of my brother, Sergio. So me, Abraham, my dad, Jesus, my sister, Ingrid, my mother, Francis, and my brother, Sergio, and my nephew, Sergio. So, and this is my family now. So this is me. This is our 3 children, my beautiful wife, Evelyn, our oldest son, Bruno, who's 5 years old. Right between Bruno and me is Marbella, who is 3 years old, 3.5, and then the youngest one, Mariela, who's 2 years. Now, I think going back to the mountains, Monterrey is surrounded by mountains similar to when you go to Colorado and see all the mountains. This is what it looks like. That's the city of Monterrey. All around it are mountains, and that's the Horse Saddle Mountain, the Cerro de la Silla, right in the middle. It's huge, ginormous. You stand anywhere in the city, you know that the mountain, you get your location by looking at the mountain. It's on the east side of the city. So if you're lost, you look up, you see the mountain, you know that's east, you know behind you is north or in front of you is north. Several years ago, my wife, my oldest son, Bruno, back when he was an only child, and I visited a park that is located on one of the smaller mountains overlooking Monterrey. You see where this Mexican flag is. We were standing right there. It's called Cerro del Obispado, Bishopric Mountain, because there's a church right on top, and it was the first church in Monterrey. Now, you can see him right there. That's him in his stroller when he was maybe a year or less than a year. And right behind it, it's the Cerro de la Silla. Now I remember thinking, imagine moving that mountain. Imagine waking up tomorrow and the Cerro de la Silla is just gone. There's no more Cerro de la Silla. Just like that. Poof. Because Jesus told us if we have faith the size of this mountain, you could tell that mountain, go from here to there, and it will go. Now, I'm sure Jesus wasn't talking about geology when he said you could move mountains, or at least I don't think he was. For sure, he wasn't giving instructions for relocating mountains and say, let's move the Cerro de la Silla to Mount Rich, Kansas, and let's have a new mountain here. He was teaching us something deeper. He was teaching us that God can do extraordinary things through ordinary faith, like this mustard seed sized. Jesus doesn't say you need giant faith. He doesn't say you need perfect faith. He doesn't say you need faith bigger than everyone else's. He simply says faith the size of a mustard seed, the one you're holding. To God, that's enough faith. He obviously wants more, but to him, that is enough. But why does Jesus connect faith with impossible things, like trying to move a mountain? I think it's because some of the greatest mountains that we face as individuals, as humans, they're not made of rock. The mountains that we face every single day in our lives, they're made of fear. They're made of division, of hatred, of division, of prejudice, of broken relationships, of injustices. These are the mountains Jesus is talking about. When he says, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain. And the mountains he's talking about are these: hatred, division, prejudice, fear. Those mountains. You can tell fear moved from here to there, moved to the trash bin. For us as humans, sometimes these mountains can feel impossible to move. Saying, I have, this broken relationship and I cannot move away from it. I cannot move it from my life. Sometimes things like these feel impossible to move, especially when we talk about peace. Sometimes peace just seems unrealistic. Sometimes peace just feels too slow. Sometimes, like to me, peace feels like it isn't making any difference at all. And that's why peace requires faith. Because when we work for peace, it rarely ever produces immediate results. And I can guarantee you today that violence can make headlines overnight. Tomorrow on the news, you will hear handsome man in Moundridge, Kansas, punches, kid in Eden Mennonite Church. And it will be all over the news, right? It'll make headlines overnight. But when we talk about peace, because it's so slow, it never makes headlines overnight. Peace usually grows quietly, slow, patiently, sometimes for years, sometimes for generations. Peace asks us to forgive before we even know if there will be reconciliation. Peace asks us to welcome strangers before we know what that relationship will become. Peace also asks us to love people who may never love us back. But without faith, many of us would simply quit. Faith reminds us that God is working. That God is working on something that we cannot yet see. Now, a few weeks ago, I went to the Central Plains Mennonite Conference in Mountain Lake, Minnesota. And as I drove from Minneapolis, where I landed, to Mountain Lake, which is about 2 hours or so. Anybody ever been to Mountain Lake? Yeah. You're probably familiar with these roads. I drove from Minneapolis to Mountain Lake, to St. James, back to Mountain Lake, and then on to Rochester, Minnesota, and then over to St. Paul. And as I drove through those highways, I couldn't stop looking out the window because there really isn't much to do. Just look out the window. And it was just me on my own. And on both sides of the road, I saw green, beautiful fields. And this is one of the pictures that I saw. I think this was like 9 p.m. and there was still sun. It was very odd. But I could see green fields to my left. I could see green fields to my right. As far as my eye could see, I could see green fields. Corn and soybeans everywhere. Any farmers here? No farmer. Yeah, we have a couple of farmers. Yeah. You know what these fields look like, right? They're amazing. And during that drive, I found myself wondering something. How long did it take for one of those seeds that they planted there to eventually become food on my family's table or on the potluck later today? Because the crops didn't just simply appear. Somebody had to prepare the ground. Somebody had to plant the seed. Someone had to wait. And that growth from a seed to that took some time. Peace, I believe, works the exact same way. Now, during my visit to Minnesota, I had lunch with one of my friends called Dwayne France. I don't know if anybody knows him, but in case you do, tell him I said hi in Mountain Lake. And we were eating burritos together. Now, I knew Dwayne was a farmer, So I asked him what I thought would be a simple question. I'm not a farmer. Hey, Dwayne, how does farming work? I know you plant a seed and then it just becomes a plant and so on and so on and so on, right? So I asked him, Dwayne, how does farming work? Right? Just to get some insight. He's a farmer. He's probably going to tell me like, you plant and so on, and tells me. His eyes got big. He said, oh, somebody's asking me about farming. That's my topic. Right? And for the next several minutes, he gave me what I now will call Dwayne's Easy 10 Steps to Farming 101 for dummies. Because I know the basics. You plant something, you water it, and it grows. But when you're talking about, 100 acres or so much, like, how do you do it? And this is a photo that I created online. So it doesn't exist, unfortunately. But he told me, actually, farming begins in the winter. Before you even the season becomes, the weather becomes a little warmer, especially in Minnesota, farming actually begins in the winter. He says, in December and November and January, I have to prepare my equipment because otherwise I'll be left, stuck behind. Have to replace some bearings and some things here and there. You change the oil and get things going. You test all the equipment, make sure that it's running. If it's not running, you try to find out why and so fix it and so on. And then, season's coming, you check out the soil. Is it still frozen? Is it defrosted? Is it too wet? Is it too sandy? And then you prepare the seed bed, the bed for the seeds to sleep on. And then once you do that, you plant the seed. And then you protect it from the weeds. I asked him if he waters his farm or the crops, and he said, we have enough water or enough rain in Minnesota that I don't need to do manually water. I don't know if in Kansas you have to. Anybody that's a farmer? You maybe sometimes. You protect it from the weeds. You spray something so that weeds don't grow around it. And then you wait. And then after that, you watch. And then you wait some more. Sometimes you have to water it. And then after that, you wait some more. And eventually, you wait even more. And after waiting some more, then you harvest. But then you're still not finished. He says, you have to test the moisture before you even harvest it. I asked him, why? Why can't you just, harvest it? He said, because if it's too wet, when you harvest it, it's going to get all slumpy and it could rot. So then you have to wait again. Only then, when the moisture is perfect, then you harvest. As he explained all of this, I realized one thing. Nothing in farming can be rushed. If I plant in January and try to harvest in May instead of September, you don't get an early harvest. You get nothing. you get no harvest. Growth has its own timetable. And maybe peace too. You know, sometimes I pray as though peace should just grow overnight. God tends me to remind me that peace grows more like corn than how my hair grows. You know, my hair grows pretty fast. I feel like I'm made out of Play-Doh and it just keeps coming out and out and out. And all that waiting brought another scripture to mind. On Joshua 1:9, that said, I've commanded you to be brave and strong, haven't I? Don't be alarmed or terrified, because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. God tells Joshua that. And Joshua didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Farmers don't know exactly what the weather will be tomorrow, but I think this week it's going to be in the 80s. Back home it's going to be 105 or so. So I'm comfortable with my short sleeve today. Farmers don't know exactly what tomorrow's weather will bring. Yet every single spring in Kansas and in Minnesota and in the Rio Grande Valley, they plant. Every single time. Because slow peace is not passive. They don't know exactly what the harvest will look like, but they will prepare the soil. They will fix their machinery. They will plant the seed. They will tend and care for it. And they will wait. And they keep showing up to the farm to see how it's going. Peace builders, or when we're talking about peace building work, we also live with so much uncertainty. But we just don't wait for peace to happen. We don't say, hey, you know, in Zimbabwe, there's chaos going on. I'm just going to wait here for peace to happen. We try to do something about it. We don't know how every peace conversation is going to end, especially in my topic. I work in immigration. I don't know how every conversation on immigration is going to end. If I'm going to finish getting punched in the face or getting a high five, I don't know. But I do know is that I can't just wait for peace to happen on its own. We don't know if peace and reconciliation will happen either. We don't know how long peace and justice will take. Yet God says, be strong, be courageous, keep planting, because I am with you. In my work with Mennonite Central Committee, I spend much of my time working alongside immigrant families, community organizations, doing immigration work, churches. And today, after 24 years after my own family made that decision to immigrate, I now spend much of my time accompanying people who are making the difficult decision about migration. Sometimes I do wish peace worked faster. I'm not going to lie. I wish peace would come tomorrow or later this afternoon. I really do wish that families could be reunited tomorrow. I wish fear of the stranger would disappear tomorrow. I wish justice came tomorrow. I really do. And sometimes I become discouraged because I want the harvest before its season. I want it now. I want it next week. But God gently reminds me, just plant another seed. Just have one more conversation. Just talk to one more family. Just visit one more church. Just have another event. Just do one more act of hospitality. Just pray once more. Just create one new relationship. Just plant one more seed. Faith keeps planting even when the harvest is invisible. In case we have parents here, you might feel connected to this story that happened not too long ago with my son Bruno. Like many children, he wants to be big. He's 5 years young. And sometimes we'll be eating, and I'll jokingly tell him, Bruno, eat your sopa, your soup, and you'll grow strong like that, because obviously I'm very strong. To him, I am. After he's eating, we'll finish eating, and he'll be like, look, I'm stronger than before I was eating sopa. Look at me, I'm taller now. And he'll say, look, I grew. I say, yes. But one day, he finished eating, and he became frustrated because he wanted to be as tall as me. Bruno's about 3.5 feet maybe, and he wanted to be as tall as me. He got on the couch, he stood up, and he still wasn't as tall as me. He was still a little bit shorter. He wanted to be exactly as tall as me or taller. Not someday, not next month, not for his 6th birthday. Today. He wanted to be as tall as Dad today. He couldn't understand why growing takes so long. It took me, I'm 32. It took me 32 years to get to this height. He's just 5 years young. I told him, Bruno, you will be tall. You just can't skip the growing part. And maybe we can't skip the growing part of peace either. And I wonder if we aren't the same way with God. We want peace today. We want justice today. We want healing today. We trust God. We trust that God is at work. But grow often takes seasons. It takes its time. Now, let us go back to the mustard seed you're holding. I hope you haven't lost it just yet. Jesus tells another story. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. It begins as one of the smallest seeds, yet it grows into something much larger. This grows into something large enough for birds to find shelter in its branches. Isn't that beautiful? This little piece of seed that you're holding, if you put it on the ground, it grows. It says into a tree, but it's actually a big bush. It grows into something larger. Large enough for birds to come to that bush and find shelter in them. Isn't that beautiful? Anybody here a fan of birding? Some of us. The goal wasn't simply that this seed, we put it on the ground, we waited, and it grew. The goal was that somebody else found shelter in that piece that we put on the ground, like the birds. Maybe that is what peace is supposed to do. To me, that is biblical peace. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. Peace builds places like the bush where people can rest. It builds places where people can have conversations. I planned this so that eventually we can have a conversation. Where strangers become neighbors, where enemies become brothers and sisters, where people know they belong. Now, I want you to keep this mustard seed. I just lost mine again. I have more here. Here. I intentionally put so many of them so that I know it was going to fall. I want you to keep this mustard seed. You can put it inside your Bible, in your pocket, chew it, take it with you. It's not that strong of a flavor either. But put it somewhere where you might see it again. Not because there's something magical about this seed. There really isn't. But because Jesus chose it to remind each one of us of something. When you hold this seed in between your fingers and in your palm and look at it, remember that God is not asking us for enormous faith. It's not asking us for a Grand Canyon-sized of faith. Jesus says, faith this small is enough. And remember something else. The seed that you have in your hand, it didn't just appear in your hand this morning. Somebody prepared the soil, somebody planted it, somebody protected it and watered it. Someone harvested, someone cleaned it, someone packaged it. Someone brought it to us, to our church this morning, and someone passed it out to you. It took time. Peace is often the same. Sometimes we think peace only happens through great speeches, through famous leaders, or through historical moments. But really, Jesus reminds us that peace often begins with actions so small that we may think they're insignificant, like the tiny seed. Sometimes a seed of peace is just a kind word. Hey, I hope you have a really good day today. Hey, I know you're feeling ill. I'm praying for you. Hey, I know you just lost your loved one. Let me know if you ever want to grab coffee. Sometimes it's an apology. Hey, I know last week I was in a bad mood and I shouldn't have said what I said. I apologize. Sometimes it's just listening. Hey, remember that story you wanted to share with me? Could you tell it to me? Now I have more time. Hey, how did you come to this place? How did you get to Mount Ridge? Sometimes a seed of peace is speaking up when someone is being mistreated. Sometimes it's standing beside someone who does not have the power to stand alone or whose voice is being ignored. All those are mustard seeds. This small. They seem small, but in God's kingdom, but in God's hand, they become the kingdom. Don't worry about moving El Cerro de la Silla from Monterrey to Mount Ridge. Before we finish, I want you to look at that seed one more time. If you could hold it like this, just look at it. See the brownish, yellowish color. Look at it one more time. It's just so tiny. And by itself, it doesn't look like much. But Jesus tells us this is enough. You don't have to move a mountain this week, every mountain this week. You don't have to solve every problem in your life this week. You don't have to create world peace by yourself. God is just asking you for you to plant just one seed of peace. This week, when you go out for the week or for the rest of the month and next month, plant one seed. Have that conversation that you've been wanting or the conversation that you need. Welcome someone, whether it's to a local place, whether it's to your church, whether it's to your community. Stand beside someone. Stand up when someone is being mistreated. Offer forgiveness to someone. Choose compassion instead of fear. Be curious and plant that seed of peace. Plant one seed, and then another seed, and then another seed, and then wait, and then wait, and then wait some more, and then plant another seed, and then another one. And trust that God's timing for the little seed to bring peace will be at the right time. Trust God's timing to grow. Trust God's timing to grow what only God can grow through the seeds of peace that you're putting down. Eden Mennonite Church, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And I hope that this week you're able to plant a seed of peace wherever you are. Whether it's at home, whether it's in your community, just plant it. Don't ask why you're planting. Don't ask how big should your seed planting should be. Just plant it. The conversation that's in your head, the loved one that you want to reach out to, just do it. Plant the seed and let God do the rest of the work. Thank you. God bless you.